Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. We'll see if we can get through this video without my dogs barking, because the little guy, okay, the bigger guy, he barks. As soon as I start talking, he thinks I'm talking to him. So anyways, my name is Lauren. This is my channel. I figured I'd do a quick video just introducing myself and what I'm doing here. So this is my first attempt at YouTube, at doing a video, and I kind of hemmed and hawed about it, about what I wanted to talk about where I was going to take it, and then decided I needed to just stop thinking about it so much and actually just do it. So here I am. So again, my name is Lauren, and I live in Canada, in the prairies. And what I decided that I wanted to do was to kind of cover some of what I learned along the way. In recent months, there is Harley, he's the barker. In recent months, I've been learning Reiki and taking Reiki classes. I've done my level 1 twice, and I'm just finishing my level 2 for the second time, and I actually have my master teacher certificate as well, and I'll be getting it a second time. So what I've done is actually take Reiki through 2 different lineages, and learning the different techniques from sort of different points of view. And during the course of this, I've kind of come to realize that I have a connection to certain guides. And one of my personal guides is Kali from the Hindu pantheon. And I've never worked with her closely. I mean, I am pagan. I've been pagan since I was, give or take, about 11 or 12 years old. And I've never actually worked with Kali. As you can see by this side, the tree there, I do tend to work with a lot of Celtic stuff, specifically Irish deities. So it was a really big surprise to find Kali kind of in the mix of things now. I'm a devotee of Breech, and I also work with the Dagda. So having a new deity kind of pop up, one from a pantheon that I'm not familiar with, I wanted to kind of document my learning. You know, when I read something about her, or when I learn something new, and I just realized I haven't really been talking to the camera, so I'm gonna have to work on that. Sorry. So I want to kind of document working with Kali. But at the same time, I work with Breech and I work with the Dagda. So I want to kind of cover a bit more about how to build relationships with deity, and how to learn about deity, and kind of how to incorporate them into your daily life, because that's one of the things that I'm working on a lot, is how to incorporate them into my life in a way that works for me. And I know that a lot of what pagans are talking about are all these big things, you know, like all of the holidays and the big stuff, you know. It's not as much about the day-to-day and incorporating them into your daily living. So one of the things that I'm going to be covering, and I'm actually going to talk about it today once I finish my little introduction, is some of the things that I personally do to incorporate my deities into my life. So we're going to primarily talk about Breech and the Dagda, because they are who I'm most familiar with. But I'm gonna have a playlist that covers my work with Kali as well. But primarily this is going to be about Breech and the Dagda. they seem like an odd combination even to me. I mean, I have this gentle, very caring mother goddess of sorts in Breech, and then I have a dark mother goddess in Kali, and they're very, very different. And that difference is one of the things that makes me the most excited about incorporating a new deity into my daily practice, is because I get to explore all these new traits, and I get to explore all these new things and incorporate a new type of devotion into my daily practice. So that's one of the things that I want to talk with you guys about. So for right now, I need you to please, please, please forgive the camera quality. I have to use my webcam on my computer that's built into my laptop, and I don't know how good it actually is, so hopefully it works sufficient for now. I do apologize for this side. There we go. I will get this right. The swearing there, my girlfriend's artwork. We have a couple of coloring books that are just adult coloring books, so they're all bad words, and she had a good time decorating them. We actually have 8 of them behind me, but 4 of them are stuck behind my head, so I hope that doesn't offend anybody. So let's see, give me a second. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the devotional aspects, the things that I do. I have, they're in my pocket. I should have grabbed them out when I had the video paused, but I did not. Oh, look, there's the other 4. Okay, so we'll cover those back up. So one of the things that I do with Breech, especially on a daily basis, is pray. And I know it sounds kind of wonky or kind of hokey, but I do. I pray to her every day, and I use this to do it. So I don't know if you guys can see that. The light's pretty bright. So there we go. That's a little better. It's backwards. There. So that's the lid to Chalice Well. So they're just blue beads, nothing fancy, okay? And each section between the spirals, okay, has 9 beads, and there's 3 sets of 9 beads. So if I go through these 4 times, then I've done 108, which is what you would find in a typical Buddhist or I don't even know what else uses them, but malas, which are pretty frequently used now. I mean, meditation and mantra chanting and stuff is pretty popular with the rise of yoga. So, I mean, you can pretty much find them anywhere. But this one, I actually got through Etsy. I'll put a link to the store below. I know he doesn't have this one in particular anymore, but he does have a few other ones that he's done. So you might be able to find a couple there. So that's always in my pocket. The prayer that I say is very, very short. It's only 2 lines, but it's over and over again. Each bead I say it again. So I literally say this prayer 108 times. I don't do that for the Dagda. That's specifically for Breech. And the reason I don't do that for the Dagda is because I don't have that kind of relationship with him right now. Where I do with Breech. I work with her on a daily basis. So, I figured I needed a way to connect daily, because I personally, myself, I thrive on daily practice. I need to have that little bit every day in order to sort of function properly. I'm a very, very spiritual person. So I need that element. So I do carry my prayer beads with me everywhere I go. And I do actually have a mala set that's dedicated to Kali that is coming in the mail, because I did order one of those. So when that gets here, we'll be doing one of those videos, because I definitely want to show that off. But for right now, we're talking about Breech. Now, one of the other things that I do for her for devotional service is that, for one, I'm a poet, okay, and Breech is a goddess of poetry, along with smithcraft and healing, okay. So I write a lot. It's not always that it's dedicated to her, but I kind of see every act of writing as a devotional act to her, as a, like, I wouldn't have the ability, none of us would have the ability to do this poetic creation without deities of poetry. And poetry is about communication and creativity, and about human nature. So when you look at those things, they're present in poetry, and those are the things that are sacred to deities like Breech or Breech. I always say Breech. Oh. Okay, so anyways, so one of the things that I do, like I said, is write. I write all the time. I usually sit down and write in batches, where I'll write 5 or 6 poems at a time, and then I won't touch them again for a week. But I do like to get in, a regular, even if it's just one piece a day. I'm not always in the mood, so I don't always do it, right? It goes on how you're feeling. You have to have that inspiration in order to do that kind of thing. So that's what we do. Now, I don't know if you can see this. It's still lit. I don't know if you can see that candle right there is lit. This here is my Breech altar. I'll get better at that. So there's a tree of life. That's a battery powered lantern there. So I use that when I'm not at home or if I'm sleeping. Okay, that's a picture frame that's going to have an icon in it, that I'm creating during devotional time. So you have a vase with, they're just fake plants, but they are seasonal. Okay, so it's winter solstice season here. It's almost winter, so I have these in here to honor that part of the season. So again, the lit candle. I have this here, which is a greeting card, actually, that has a Breech's cross on it. This here is actually a diamond painting. I do a lot of diamond paintings, and my best friend sent me this one because it was actually, which way am I going? It was a Celtic tree, and she thought that I would like having that. And I'm not good at this point and shoot thing. This is not fun. So I also have down here, so this, which is called a Breech, and I hope I pronounced that correctly because I do not speak Gaelic. I don't speak Irish at all. Okay, so this has this beautiful embroidered design on it, and it is just a simple square, right? It's about the size of a handkerchief. So that stays there, and it's a healing cloth. Okay, so a Breech is either a Breech's mantle or a Breech's cloak, depends on who you're talking to that does the translation to what it's called. Okay, and the myth goes that on Imbolc Eve, so the night before Imbolc, you take the brat outside and you lay it out somewhere on your property, and the dew will fall and settle onto the cloth, and you go out the next morning before dawn and you get it and you bring it back inside, and for the rest of the year that cloth has healing properties from Breech herself. So if someone has a headache, you can lay it on their head. If they have a chest cold, you can lay it on their chest, and it's supposed to help them heal. Now I just got that, so I haven't actually had a chance to use it in that capacity as of yet, but I do keep it in that space because that is my my sacred space for Breech. So, hang on one second. Okay, so I'm going to try to finish this up. I just have one other thing that I want to show you guys. And then I'll explain the purpose of all of this and the like handle and everything. So I have here, in this little bag, these cute little cards. Wave, Breech, Oracle cards. Okay. I haven't even shuffled these yet, to be honest. I just got them in the mail yesterday, so I haven't actually had a chance to use them yet. But seriously, look at the backs of these. Like, isn't that gorgeous? Like, I love that. I absolutely adore that. Okay. So, what these have is like all these different correspondences that you can use for Breech. Actually, there's one for the Breech's mantle. Let's see if I can get this up here. Okay, this way. Alright, so you can see what it looks like. And then, of course, I'm going to drop it. And then, of course, it has that beautiful back on it. So what this says is Breech's mantle for manifesting. Breech's mantle manifests magic and miracle. When 4 of her aid women each took a corner and walked in the 4 directions, the cloak grew and grew until it covered the plains of the Cura in Ireland. Breech asks you to visualize what in your life you wish to manifest. Conjure up that dream and make it bigger, and now even bigger. Allow your dream to grow and expand like the magic of Breech's cloak. You can realize all that you believe. You are a manifester of dreams. Okay. So that's the kind of thing that it has, right? Like, it's, like, it gives you an association with her. And, divine beginning. Kind of, it takes one of her correspondences and gives you a way of applying that correspondence and what it represents to your life. So those are going to be added into my daily practice. I haven't quite decided if it's going to be like a card a day like you would do with a tarot deck, or if it's going to be in some other fashion, which is part of the reason why I haven't used them yet. So what is going on back here? I'll just move back so you can see it again. Okay, oh, there it is, the candle. I am a flame tender for Breech. A flame tender and a flame keeper and water tender. Yeah, that's it. Flame keeper and water tender. Okay. So what a flame keeper means is that once every 20 days, I keep a candle burning for 24 hours for Breech. So the story goes that there was at one point a place for priestesses who were dedicated to Breech, and that they kept this flame going out of devotion because she is a fire goddess, and it was kept for 19 days, and each priestess took a day to tend it for 24 hours. And then on the 20th day, it was believed that Breech herself actually took over and tended the flame for that 20th day. And then on, the next day, on the first day, it would start all over again. And in Kildare, which is the town most heavily associated with Breech, there was a monastery that was built a long, long time ago. And the Brigadine monks, or nuns, that lived there did the same thing. They kept this flame burning, and it was on a 20-day cycle. So 19 nuns would care for the flame, and then on the 20th, Saint Breech would take over and tend it for the 20th day before they started all over again. So we'll get into the goddess versus saint in another video, but for right now, what you need to know is just that this is a tradition that continued for hundreds of years. Okay. And I believe it was the 12th century, but I could be wrong. I'll have to double check that if anybody's curious. But the nunnery was shut down, and the flame was eventually put out. So for another several hundred years, the flame wasn't burning. And then in the, I believe it was the 1980s, but it might have been the early 1990s. Again, I'll have to double check because I read it yesterday and now my dates are all confused. The flame was relit in Kildare. And it is a perpetual flame, the same as it has been through time. And it runs on a 20-day cycle. And I am part of Ord Bredock, and I am a part of Daughters of the Flame. So I actually do flame tending on 2 different days, on 2 different 20-day cycles. So right now I'm just finishing up a flame tending day, which is why the candle is lit. So what I use the electric flame for, like I said, if I've got to go out or if I'm going to bed, because I do have 2 dogs and I do have a cat, I don't want anybody knocking the flame over or knocking it out. And I don't feel comfortable taking that candle and putting it in the bathtub when it's sacred to my goddess. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like it's a truly devotional act. So I'll actually light the lantern and then snuff the candle. And then in the morning when I get up, I'll relight the candle and then put out the lantern. Same as if I have to go out somewhere, just for safety's sake. So that's what's going on back there. Okay, like that's part of what that's there for. I mean, part of it is for Breech to have her own space, and part of it is to have an area that's dedicated specifically for flame tending. So what the water tender does is more of an environmental thing. Breech is associated with many sacred wells, and because of that, there's this huge, very strong connection to water. Okay, that is why my prayer beads have the cover for Chalice Well on them, because it is a sacred well. It's not technically associated with Breech, given the fact that Chalice Well is at Glastonbury and Breech is from Ireland, but Breech also existed devotionally throughout many parts of Europe and the UK, or what we now know is the UK, and had a variety of names. So most of them are alike. So for me, it's an appropriate thing. It may not work for everybody, but it works for me. It gives me something small and physical that I can carry with me and use as a touchstone throughout the day. If I feel anxious, I can pull those out of my pocket and say a round of my prayer, and I feel better. You know, it's like I'm giving that anxiety to her. I feel better. So there's that, right? And it's a concrete way for me to connect with her. And that's what I want to be doing. Okay? So everything that's there behind me over here, all of this belongs to her except for the diamond painting. I swear I will get better at pointing behind me and figuring out which way the camera goes. The diamond painting actually belongs to the Dagda. He claimed it when I put the first diamond down, and that was that. So it is what it is. So it hangs there because Dagda is Breech's father. So it makes sense. And when I create a devotional area for the Dagda, if that ever comes about, then that picture will get moved into his area. And sorry, my dog stepped on my craft box and knocked it over, and I was like, oh my god, what are you doing? So anyways, this has been a really long video for like introduction and like a little bit about daily devotional activities. I really was not expecting it to be 24 minutes long. I do talk a lot. I tend to ramble, so feel free to skip around and, you know, see what you can see. If you've stuck around this long, thank you. I appreciate it. Welcome to my channel again. So I don't know how often I'll be posting, but it should be fairly regular. We'll cover some mythology for Breech and the Dagda will definitely be covering mythology and worldviews for Kali, different practices that I'm starting to incorporate for Kali as I start working with her more often. We'll talk about Reiki a little bit, and who knows what else we'll cover. We might cover a little bit about tarot cards, just because I've been a reader since I was 19. Makes me feel old when I say that. So it's going to be a lot of pagan, but very focused at the same time on the things that are important or vital to me in my practice. So just kind of stay tuned and stick around. Give me a chance. I promise you'll learn something. I am full of useless information, so I can't guarantee anything you'll learn will be anything but useless, but I mean, at least it'll be fun, right? So thank you for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.